Or another way to put it, it's like this junkie in us that only wants the nice things, meaning the objects that my mind calls nice. So the millisecond that attachment doesn't get what it wants, and that's 1,000 times a day, that's called aversion. Or a volatile level of aversion is anger. An internalized level of aversion is called depression. And we'll go into this. We'll discuss it. It's quite subtle. And this is not how we think, you know. So these are enough to even work out most of daily life. Attachment is the default mode, this assumption I must get what I want every second, which is only the nice things. The millisecond it doesn't get them, and it's 1,000 times a day, it will not get the nice things, then you have a panic attack. Aversion, how dare that be there? And if it's mild, it goes in, and one day you can't get out of bed because you're so depressed. Another person, you end up killing somebody. This sounds so simple, but this attachment and aversion are basically the running of most of the day. So because effectively we are junkies, attachment is a junkie that only wants the nice things. So even answering your question simply, Neil, and we have to go this more deeply, because attachment is constantly inside us needing things to be nice, frantic for things to be nice. It's hungry like a little kid for things to be nice. Can you hear that even? It's deep in our bones. We're not articulating it. You're not walking into that room hoping it'll be lovely so you'll feel happy. But as soon as you walk in that room and people are smiling, attachment just got what it wanted, so you're going to feel happy. The second you walk into the room where it's ugly, or the bad weather, or the lousy food, you understand, or the mean words from somebody, the assumption is that's not what the attachment wants, so you have a panic attack and freak out. That's what's happening. I mean, it's just, you know, but it takes a while to look at this. So the neediness in us for things to be nice is the basis of when you get an ugly thing, you know, you immediately feel bad, and when you get a nice thing, you immediately feel good. And this is what we have to start to unpack. And this is what makes us believe those mean, unhappy people are the source of my suffering, and the nice people are the source of my happiness. We all think this. It's reasonable. It's logical. The world is like this. And this doesn't mean there's not some learning from that. So yeah, stick around nice people, nothing wrong. But the Buddha's view is we've got to go deep into the mind to see the source of what it is in us that, and it's this massive expectation. Because the thing about attachment is it assumes that something out there has to fill me up. It assumes I'm nothing unless I get the nice thing. It's not that easy to see it, but this is a simple way of starting to explain it, Neil. So attachment then, the Buddha says is the key one in this daily life, and we can work with this one. But as Lama Yeshe says, I can tell you about attachment for one whole year. The word sounds so cute, you know. It goes to incredible subtlety. It'll take us a long time, he said, to really comprehend it and to build something up internally, you know. It's so instinctive, so primordial, so natural. So to begin to listen to it and unpack it is not that easy. It's massive. This is the essence of Buddhist practice, basically. So attachment and aversion or anger are the two key things in day-to-day life. We go between drunken sailors between these 1,000 times a day. But you can say the assumption of attachment is I've got to get the nice things. That's it. We can only cope. Attachment only wants the nice things, the good things, and that means the things that I want. I mean, Paros might really like chocolate cake. Maybe I love carrot cake. So it's, you know, we each determine which one it is that we want, and then we see it as that way, you know. So to get into this one is really quite intense. But to comprehend it first intellectually. Are we communicating even a little bit the meaning of these words, you know? Then in this hierarchy, if you like, jealousy and all the other dramas are all a result of all this. First there's ego grasping, then there's a constant craving to get what that fantasy I wants, then there's a panic attack and aversion and fear and drama and distress and annoyance and irritation and frustration, depression or anger. They're all variations of the same state of mind that come when attachment doesn't get what it wants. And we go between these 1,000 times a day. And this is primordially deep. It happens naturally. We take these things at the level of assumption. So we have to unpack. So what Buddha says is, Neil, when we learn to work with our mind, learn to get some clarity, learn to become familiar with the contents of our mind, we start to, just say it simply, we start to realize that what's out there is not the main source of how we feel. We have to learn to do that we can learn to have control. It's sort of like saying, when you put your hands on the piano, you've got no control, you just have to play crummy notes. It's true if you don't know music, isn't it? You can't play beautiful Bach if you don't know theory, right? So we just assume, oh well, you just put your hands on the piano, bad notes are going to come out. Yeah, until you learn the theory. Do you understand? You're going to try and be a gardener but not know botany. You're going to make a mess out there. So Buddha's got some methods. It's called, it's called his view of the mind, that it doesn't have to be no control. We can learn by using his model to understand the workings of this underneath, and then learn to realize once you less, let's say, so okay, how would you be if you had less attachment and less aversion, these two simple states of mind? What you'd be is, you'd be much more content in yourself. You wouldn't be instinctively relying on the external world to be a certain way. So you walk into the bad weather or the horrible people, and you've got your own stability, your own clarity, and you'd even have compassion. And you wouldn't hang around because it's going to be a mess, but it wouldn't disturb you. Literally is what Buddha's saying. Literally we can learn to do that. And that's a puzzle to us, because we just assume it's natural that the external thing is the main cause of whether you're happy or suffering. This is why you said those words, isn't it? Do you understand? Yeah. Well, the Buddha says, no, you're wrong. He says he's got methods. We just don't learn these. I mean, we don't really have this level of clarity, I don't think, in our psychology about what to do, because we do assume, in all of our models of the mind, we do assume the external is the main cause of our suffering. So our main methods are try to avoid the suffering, but what do you do when you can't, what to do when you can't avoid the suffering? And that's the trouble. We go mad, we go crazy. I mean, many of my friends in prison are living in that environment, like you just said, all day. So they literally go mad because they don't have techniques for working on their minds, Do you understand my point? So the Buddha says, if you can change something, please change it. If you can get the hell out of that room of crazy people, then please do it. But what happens if you can't? Like if you're in prison, I tell you, some of these American prisons, madhouses, or everywhere prison, if you can't get past, I mean, there's this kind of prisons, well, it's everywhere, but certainly the ones I know, Americans, my Mexican gangster friends, in ex-gangsters in California. It's very funny, in the Californian prisons, they have all these gangs, right? It's like a special world, special gangs. Paros and I could be Neil and I could be in Los Angeles, and we could be, two gangs, one each of us, and we'd fight to the death, basically. That's our job. We would fight to the death. But if we both get arrested, overnight we will join the prison gang called the Southern Mexicans, the Soreños. And we would now give our life for each other. Overnight! Overnight we will change, we'll become a Soreños. And we will give our life, and our worst enemies are the Northern Mexicans. So the Southern Mexicans are all from Los Angeles and around there, and the Northern Mexicans from San Francisco. And all the Mexicans I know in prison are all from Los Angeles, so I kind of figure my gang is the Southerners, I joke about that. It's very funny. So, anyway, raving on here. So that proves it's made by the mind, doesn't it? If overnight Neil can look like my blood brother, but the day before I was going to kill him, I think that shows it's the mind, doesn't it? You've changed your interpretation. Overnight you've changed your interpretation. It proves the point. When you change your mind, you change everything. It's not kidding. Because overnight he's become my blood brother. We'll be put in the same cell. We'll give our lives for each other, but the day before we were trying to kill each other. That really should blow your mind, It proves it's the mind, isn't it? It proves. We call each other Soreños today and we're friends. Then we get out tomorrow, we'll kill each other again. I mean, it's like hilarious. So this is the thing that in Buddhism, there's this incredible clear distinction between what we call a virtuous quality and the neurotic ones. So when we hear this, we recognize attachment, we recognize anger, and we also recognize love. So if I say I love Neil, that means I have affection for him. I see what he needs. I have empathy. I have compassion when he gets a headache. I take care of him. I want him to be happy. That's called virtue. That's called love and compassion. We know those states of mind. But the trouble is we assume they're both equal in terms of being natural. But the Buddha goes way more deep. He says, don't be ridiculous. But it's obvious when I love Neil, meaning altruistically, and want him to be happy, it's obvious that I'm happy too. It's clear. But if I'm really attached and frantic and freaking out about losing him every minute, freaking out every time he looks at someone else, it's like you're in a nightmare. It's got some pleasant feelings in relation to it, but it's under threat the whole time. Because he mightn't look at me the right way, he might do the wrong thing, he might look at the girl the wrong way, and I'm in a constant panic. We all know it's unpleasant. But if we call it natural, we're never going to look at it, isn't it? It's just called natural. You won't look at it. Well, Buddha says that we can rid the mind of this one. This is the source of our suffering. It's intense. And it's a series of thoughts deep in our bones. We came programmed with it. Buddha says, so hard to recognize it. And on the